I was also very interested in your background in history, and I wanted to learn more about what you were most compelled by when you were studying history, poli-sci, and policy. And I noticed that you did some work in legal admin. So was there any particular theme or event that really inspired your transition into marketing? Or do you have any sort of core ideas that you bring with you from your background?
Yeah, great question. I studied history and poli-sci in college because growing up, I like to read biographies and history. My goal at the time was, okay, I want to be a lawyer and then maybe a politician. After college, I worked in city government. A lot of it is policy work. And then I also worked at a law firm because I was considering going to law school. But those experiences taught me that in government, there's a lot of red tape. It's hard to get things done. And then the law firm, I noticed that as a young kid growing up, I thought lawyers got to go to court, argue their case, very inspiring, right? But then at the law firm, I realized a lot of it is just paperwork, and a lot of lawyers didn't look too happy. So I knew that was not the path I wanted to go down. Even though I got into a few law schools, I thought the trade-off wasn't worth it. I was a bit of at a crossroad at the time. I had just graduated, 2 years of work experience, and I'm thinking, I don't want to do government. I don't want to do law school. So I talked to my friends who worked in consulting and investment banking, thought it was interesting, picked up some books, learned case interview, learned high frequency trading, just like the concepts of it. Read a lot of books at the time, applied to Deloitte and Goldman. Deloitte, the role I was applying for was a government consulting role. So it was still related to my background. And then Goldman, it was more about investor relations. And then out of left field, my friend at Google said, hey, you should apply. We have a policy role open. So I decided to apply, ended up getting the job in policy. When I joined Google in policy, I knew that was in my final destination. Policy and tech is better, but the concepts are the same. You still have to work with a lot of regulations. So I think even in my first month at Google, I noticed that we had an internal page with 20% projects where you can do, quote, like small projects with other teams to get experience. I looked at all the 20% projects. I remember seeing product management, but then they said you need a CS degree. I looked at something around sales. I'm like, I don't really want to do sales. Then I saw a role open for product marketing. I didn't know what it was at the time, but all it said is you must be willing to learn, be a good writer, and be interested in storytelling. So I was like, okay, I think I qualify for this. I have no idea what it was. Ended up meeting the person who was going to give me the 20% work. And basically, he told me, hey, let's have you write some emails, outreach emails to get people to talk about their app development experience. I'm like, okay, this is a very important task. So I sat down, spent like an hour on the email. Like I was trying to write
Wow.
really formal email. And then I sent it back to the product marketer. And then he was like, this is way too complicated. I was writing like, dear sir, sincerely, very formal legal way of talking. And he was like, he's delete, and he's hello, very conversational. Hey, really like your stuff. Can we talk? Cheers, right? And I'm like, oh wow, I didn't know people can talk informally or conversationally over email. But then as time went on, I learned how to write more informally. He trusted me with more stuff, like first emails. Okay, the next step is maybe help write a part of an ebook. And then the next step is help with a small feature launch and then help with a case study. So I did that for 2 years, just doing product marketing on the side. And then after 2 years, I asked him, hey, should I go for full time? And he said, yeah, why not? You should apply. And then I applied and I got into product marketing full time. What did I take from my experiences? I would say growing up, I really like biographies. So I was exposed to a lot of different life stories. And I think that helped me to become a better storyteller and product marketing. So just thinking, hey, at the end of the day, we're communicating with people, regardless if it's B2B or B2C. We want to be able to tell a story that resonates with them. So that starts with understanding what their story is and then telling our story to fit a part of their story. And then the second thing is being a history major as well. it taught me to look at what's happened in the past, because if you don't learn from the past, you're going to make the same mistakes. So in the same way, when I apply it to marketing, I always look at what's worked. I try to do those, and what hasn't worked, maybe try to either avoid doing the same thing or do things a little bit differently so that we don't make the same mistake. And then finally, political science, something that I learned within political science is conflict resolution. A lot of times
Mm.
conflicts come out of miscommunication and not meeting the person face to face. Like your friend might send you a text, you might misinterpret it, get angry, and then you send them a slightly angry text back, and it escalates, right? Because there's miscommunication and there's misinterpretation. But then, let's say your friend sends a text, you pause and you say, hey, can we meet? And then you meet in person. All of a sudden, the tensions would just de escalate because it's harder to hate someone up front. And then you have a normal dialogue. You understand, hey, what was your thinking behind this text? Would love to learn. I don't want to misinterpret. So in the same way, in product marketing, you have to work with a lot of different stakeholders that have their own interest. And sometimes it can be combative if you don't understand where they're coming from. So part of that is just being empathetic, knowing what sales, they have pressure from leadership to hit revenue goals, right? Product, they might have pressure from engineering to build the right things. And then you're in the middle and you need to figure out how do you align with their goals while making sure that you hit your own goals. That's basically, in a nutshell, being able to storytell, being able to look at history and use that to inform my marketing decisions. And then finally, just being able to be more empathetic with stakeholders.